Hi, this is Dr. Mark Santa, and welcome to this episode of the Level Up Podcast. This is the podcast that helps bring you in the chiropractic profession the latest in ideas, strategies, tactics, and today tools that you can actually use to bring your practice up to the next level. And I'm absolutely delighted to have as our guest today Dano Ybarra. And Dano, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sana. It's a pleasure to be here.
And Dano is CEO and president of JTech. And many of you have heard about JTech over the years. It's something that is integral to the Breakthrough Coaching Program. And as reimbursement has moved to objective documentation of functional improvement in terms of how, why, if we get paid, JTech has taken a more important position in our practices than ever before. There's been some great updates, some new cool, we're dealing with tech here. So this is a little bit of a techie conversation as well, because there's some neat stuff that happened with hardware and software behind the scenes. But Dan, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to JTech.
Sure. My background is all technology. So I lived in Silicon Valley for many, many years, rubbed shoulders with some of the most amazing individuals you could ever hope to meet. Worked with Steve Jobs, helped him launch the Apple stores, worked with Adobe, helped create the PDF files we use today, Adobe Acrobat. And so a lot of other fun things I've done in my past, all technology based. And over the last few years, I've taken an interest in the medical side, and JTech was the perfect blend of technology and medical. And so I'm happy to be here and ramping as fast as I can on the medical side.
Well, that's awesome. And that's a super cool resume, by the way. Well, I know that you have some visuals for us to be able to reference. And, I've had a relationship to our listeners with the JTech company for about 30 years now. And it goes back to where this was actually developed, the original technology. And, they may have these in the JTech museum somewhere, but do you remember the princess phone that would hang on your kitchen wall with
I
the
had one.
long cord?
Yeah.
That was the JTech equipment, and you were crossing wires and under and over, and to now have things be able to sync wirelessly and have that happen is amazing. And it's been really cool to watch the transition of the company in this space as technology speeds up and speeds up. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen, that would be super. There we go.
Great. Well, thank you again, Dr. Sana, for having us on. And I have a few slides just to give some background, maybe a little basic education that most of you may be familiar with already, but I thought it was good as a baseline. So when you jump in and think about JTech, we've been around for 30 years. And yes, the evolution of technology has been amazing over the years. We today work with chiropractors, physical therapists, and sports medicine specialists. Some of the biggest NFL teams, a lot of track teams, and a lot of college universities use our technology. And of course, everything today is made in the USA, and we hope to continue that for the foreseeable future. We are a global company, and we have certifications in many parts of the world. Most recently, we've been certified in Australia, so we're excited about that. When you look at the executive team, as Dr. Sana mentioned, I'm Dano Ybarra, or Ybarra. You don't have to roll your R's. President and CEO Jessica Hansen is our VP of Finance, and she has an operation. She's been with the company since she was a teenager. And so many, many years. Daryl Jackson, our products, as well as regulatory, which is one of the biggest issues in medtech, as you all know. And then Cindy is the one who oversees the Western region and manages this relationship. And we're delighted to have her on board. So when you think about functional evaluation, you do it every day. You do it visually. You take a look and you say, yeah, it looks like the left side, it can rotate farther than the right side, or this left arm can go higher than the right arm. And you do this visual analysis, and that creates medical necessity to do objective analysis, objective functional testing. So when you think about functional evaluation, measuring and analyzing an individual's ability related to tasks such as range of motion, muscle strength, and pain intensity to enable you to make clinical judgments, establish the right really process to get the patient back to where they could possibly get to. So when you think about why do we do it and why do we need objective functional evaluations? Well, it really helps in goal setting with the patient. When you can show them visually, here's where you're at, here's where the AMA norms are, or other people, or here's the left and right difference, the deficits left to right. And then you can sit down and make realistic goals with the patient. And of course, it helps decision-making both for them in how much treatment they want, as well as you in the best way to treat and evaluate their progress. And of course, is it safe for them to go back to work? Do they need more rest time? All of these things can be determined with objective functional evaluations. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then, of course, document their progress. The first chiropractor who ever actually tried to do objective functional evaluations with me, won big, because I would go in and he took his little compass and he was measuring my neck and motion and everything. And he showed me where it was. And then I was looking forward to every 2 weeks when I'd go back and he would measure me again. And it really helped me want to continue my care until all of whatever the deficits I had were resolved. So that's a really important part in patient retention, patient satisfaction, and your professionalism.
Dano, I'm
Okay.
going to just hop in just
Yeah.
for a sec to piggyback on the importance of the objectivity. So when we talk about objectivity, when we do a visual assessment, basically it's my word against your word. Our eyes are going to see things differently while we're observing the same exact thing. But when you have objective analysis, you mentioned a normative database. So we know what normal is. And once we know what normal is, that's our functional baseline. We can do things like set goals. We can say exactly how far the patient is from normal, what actual functions need to be rehabilitated, stretched, strengthened in order to maintain functional improvement. And what I love about it is chiropractic is often tagged as a very subjective profession in terms of what is a subluxation, how do you find it, the beauty of this assessment is that these are the facts. And you mentioned the regulatory aspect, that these machines have to be calibrated in a very certain and specific way so that they are actually objectively measuring. When somebody's measuring cervical ROM with a goniometer, who knows where zero is? Well, JTech will tell you exactly where zero is and when the excursion in that range of motion takes place. So I can't tell you how important that objectivity, yes, in setting goals, in reimbursement, but just in communicating to patients. I've often said the number one reason patients drop out of care is not because of finances. It's not because of money. It's because they don't know where they are in the process of care. They don't know what the goals are for care, and you're not communicating them as a chiropractor to how close they are progressing to those goals. And so being able to have a tool like this provides you with the most important thing that you can have in your practice, and that's certainty. When you communicate to your patients with certainty, they get it. They understand and they follow your recommendations. and they tell other people about it as well. Uh, but I just wanted to just hop in and say how key and important the objective component of the assessment is.
Thank you very much for that. And you're spot on. When I think about the value we bring, it's your reputation. It's educating the patient, educating everyone involved, and patient retention to get them to where it's possible. And of course, you're the judge of that. You know, if, hey, we're not going to get you to the norm, but we're going to get you 80% because you're the doctor. You have the knowledge, the experience, and the training. However, knowing that, educating the patient is critical. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Of course, I consider the bonus is better insurance reimbursements. And of course, if you do personal injury, your settlement amounts go up. All of those are additional bonuses, but the real value is right there with your patients.
And
So
if you're going to get into any occupational health,
yes,
rehabbing in OC health, being able to have objective baselines for pre-injury and post-injury status actually limits the liability of the employer in terms of what they're responsible for. So if we have a good pre-work offer assessment, right? Pre-offer or post, it's actually post-offer assessment. Once you've offered them the position, we have a baseline assessment. We know where they are, and they're going to get injured at some point in time. You're not responsible to bring them back to 100%. You're only responsible to bring them back to where they were when they began the position. And it helps you make accommodations. And if you are going to be involved with occupational health, you absolutely must have JTech.
I could not have said it better. Thank you. When we talk about JTech Medical, what we do, we do work with chiropractors frustrated with insurance denials or disappointed with patient retention or annoyed just because you're not getting any attorney referrals and not getting any referrals from corporations who need this for, fit for work, as Dr. Sana just talked about. We have doctors all over using our equipment and this is a quote, 20 to 30% of our revenue comes from reimbursements they get from the functional evaluations they do with JTech systems. Some are even more significant if they do get involved in functional assessments for work because workers' comp goes down and they get contracts with these companies. We have a meat packing company, for example, that uses JTech, and one of our chiropractors does all the work for them. And that reimbursement is amazing. So when you look at what we do, objective functional testing and the automated narrative reports, which we'll talk about in just a minute, we do work with, physical therapists. We work with rehabilitation centers, obviously with chiropractors and sports medicine, as well as what we've been talking about here the last couple minutes, occupational medicine. And so we cover all of those very well. And the way we do it is we look at it as this process. Intake, we gather all the data, and then we evaluate. You, the doctors, can evaluate the data because you're looking at real numbers, objective data, and then you can analyze it and come up with the best care plan. And then, of course, you have the reports, and we're going to dig into that a little bit. So our system is a combination of test devices and software. And the whole goal is to get clear, concise, objective data. So you have your patient results, you can compare it with normative data, you can compare it to the norm as well as bilateral comparisons for muscle strength and motion and other things. So that's what we do. Our devices, we have inclinometers, we have muscle testers, grip strength testers, algometers, pinch strength testers, goniometers, and static force gauge. And of course, we have some examples here of how you would use it in occupational therapy, where you can test their ability to lift, pull, or whatever the job requires. And it's great when you go into one of these companies because what they'll do is they'll say, okay, here's here's what the job entails physically. And then we can actually create baselines where you need to be able to pull with one arm outstretched 30 pounds. And then when they're testing their employees, they can figure out, can they even perform that task? And then as Dr. Sana said, if they are injured, we have a baseline of where they started from. So we only have to fix them. The employer only has to pay to fix them to get them back to where they were, not fix previous injuries. And their workers' compensation expenses go down. And of course, the beauty of it all.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go back a slide. So up here we have algometry, and I believe that algometry is one of the single most overlooked assessment tools in the chiropractic practice. And the reason being is pain can be highly subjective. What you perceive as pain, I may feel as pressure. Now I can quantify, objectify pain, but from one side to the other points, and also against normative data. So this assessment where we do a numerical rating scale, give me your pain rating today, 0 is no pain and 10 is the most pain you ever had. People get stuck on a 7 or 8. It's like meaningless, absolutely. And yet every single insurance company requires pain rating for reimbursement. It's the part of the daily soap note for every single office visit, PT or chiro, doesn't matter. So when you have the ability to have algometry, in particular digital algometry, rather than, the original algometers were like a dental tool with a pressure gauge on it, and you pressed until the patient winced. Well, with the digital tool, there's no pressing till they wince. It stops when they have the pain response, and automatically documents that. And that's a really cool thing to do. You mentioned medical legal, but in particularly in a PI case, if you're sitting on the stand and you're talking about a subjective assessment of pain versus an objective assessment of pain, you're adding huge value to the case, huge value. And it's not just your opinion. It's, listen, here's what the computerized machine measured. So docs, if you're not using algometry, I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Thank you for that. And as you mentioned, it's the reports where, after all the measurement, the intake and analysis, you have these reports, and literally you push a button and you generate this beautiful report. And in this case, you can see from the left side was the first visit, the right side is, in this case, the left side is all the numbers for the left side. The right side shows the right side numbers. And then it gives you the differences. It gives you the bilateral differences, also compares it to the norms. And of course, one of the beauties is you're not spending all your time writing all of this down because it's captured automatically. You're welcome to go in and add notes at any point during the evaluation, as well as afterwards. The report is generated in a Word format, so you can go in and add your own notes as well. But it really streamlines your operations. And one of the beauties is you don't need to perform the actual testing. You can do a full evaluation in less than 15 minutes, but one of your office staff can do that. And then you get the report and you get to study it and you get to analyze it and determine what the outputs are. But you can see here where in these tests where we were doing duration, but when you look at it, all of these opportunities are here to see what's going on with your patient, both the physical, neurological impairments, whiplash, functional capacity evaluation, and we've been talking a little bit about that, the NIOSH, and more are all in the software. And so at the end of the day, we have 3 different packages that we've put together just for breakthrough coaching members. We have our active care, which is your range of motion and muscle strength, along with, of course, the narrative reports. We have personal injury, which then adds the grip strength and algometry, which Dr. Sana just explained why that's so important. And of course, the narrative reports, and then the occupational medicine, where we put in additional devices, including our mobile lift platform, so that you can actually see what the patient's capable of. Another great thing about this is that we have a good relationship with NCMIC. You can go 90 days, same as cash, no prepayment penalties. So if you think about it, if you bought a system today, you're not making a payment until the 1st of January, which is pretty exciting. And so they're very flexible. They love our system. They understand it. And when you look at the actual price of our system, the first thing, if you pay cash, so this top row is showing you that if you pay cash, 20 patients and it's paid for. And so after that, it's all yours, okay? And it doesn't matter which package you get. The actual price of the system ranges from about $15,000 to just under $30,000. However, we have these special prices just for breakthrough coaching members. And so about a 25% discount. So you'd be paying $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 for the 3 different packages. Now, what gets really exciting, and your accountants will get really excited about this, which you want to present this to them long before the end of the year, is you will have tax savings. For example, you get tax credits of almost $4,000 against this $9,000 system, or almost $6,000 against this $15,000. So your effective cost of the system goes significantly down with the price savings. And then, of course, your monthly payment, if you do decide to finance, if you take a look, that's about 1.5 patients a month makes your payment. And that's true for all 3 of the systems. And then your average reimbursement per exam, if you're doing the range of motion and muscle strength, it's about 150, totaling about 450 per patient. And of course, this is through insurance. We've used the Medicare fee schedule as the conservative amount, although you know, and I know, Medicare only pays for the adjustments unless they have the Advantage. But this is just to show what typical insurance companies would pay out. So for example, for the personal injury, about $225 and totaling $675 per patient, but that doesn't include the settlement. And we've had reports of settlements from attorneys going up 4 times to 10 times because they were able to come in with this objective data report from JTech. And then, of course, if you're doing, fit for work, functional evaluations for workers, comp and the like, it gets even better. And so think about it. If it costs $10,000 for a system, you get the ADA tax credit for $5,000, $179 for $1,500, and then you also get R&D credit for this. And in this case, for a system like this, it'd be about $1,000. But again, that's a 75% discount off the price of the system through tax savings. But again, you'll want to talk to your accountant about that. So that's what I had prepared as just, here's who we are, what we do, why we do it, and why it's important. At this time, let's just have some discussions.
Well, great. So one of the questions I'm often asked is insurance coding for this type of a test. And there are 2 ways that you can code this in docs coded. And one is, it is a bona fide evaluation and management E&M code, 15-minute E&M code 99202. That's as plain vanilla as it gets. You can also use 97750, and that's the functional capacity evaluation test. So they're used interchangeably. They're both absolutely fantastic, fantastically reimbursed. And so the answer is yes, it is reimbursed by insurance. Also, I think one of the important things is we're coming up in this conversation right now up to Q4 of 2024, getting ready to head into a new year. If you're going to be making capital equipment purchases, now is absolutely the time to have that meeting with your accountant. Do not wait until January of 2025 to say, okay, help me with my taxes. This is the time of year where you can actually have tremendous benefit in terms of not letting that income be given over to the government, but actually use it to buy very, very valuable equipment for your practice that you're going to use for years.
Thank you. And I can just echo and say you're spot on. And with insurance, we have some resources who can help you know how to best bill and to maximize those. And of course, when you work with attorneys on PI cases, providing them these reports, just not only can you bill the insurance, but then you also participate in the case settlement. And it's just amazing. We have so many happy chiropractors who had no idea that these things were possible.
Oh, the beauty of it is if that case does go to trial and you are sitting in the witness box as an expert and you're talking to the jury, you have objective facts. So they can put the world's most credentialed orthopedist in the witness stand after you. And hey, it's just the facts. I'm just giving you the facts. Here it is. And if you've ever been in that situation, it can be kind of scary and intimidating. And how nice to have the certainty and surety that, hey, no, this is objective, it's measured, it's against published normative data, and it's not just my opinion. So when they try and knock you out of the witness stand, well, that's your opinion. You're like, not at all. I have no opinion at all. It's just I'm going off the facts right here. That makes your day a lot better, I can tell.
Yeah. You walk out a little more comfortable with the outcome.
Absolutely. And the attorney remembers that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, cool. Dano, I appreciate so much for you being with us. Thank you again so much for the special discounts for Breakthrough Coaching members. That's a fabulous offer that you provide to our members. Thank you.
Well, you have an amazing program, and we're happy to help and support it. I think what you do for chiropractors, I wish all my chiropractors I've had over the years had your services. They could have improved their practices significantly. And being a businessman, I really understand how to run a business. And that's what you're doing. You're helping them understand the nuances and the big things of running an effective business. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of myself and Dano, Breakthrough Coaching and JTech, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the next Level Up podcast, and I hope you make today an exceptional day. Thank you, Dan. Okay.